4, the same electromagnetic waves and rectangular waveguide. Okay, so let me give you the overview of the topics what we are going to see in this particular session. So the topics what we are going to see is from unit 4. We are going to see transverse electric waves, or it is also called as magnetic waves of parallel plane wave. The second topic we are going to see is the characteristics of the transverse electric and the transverse magnetic waves. And the third topic in the unit 4, that is your transverse electromagnetic waves. Okay. And last, we are going to see a topic from unit 5, that is transverse electric waves in rectangular waveguide. Okay. So this is just a recap of what we have already seen in our previous session, so that it will be useful for you to understand what we are going to understand and see today. Okay, so last session we said whatever be the electromagnetic problem given in your hand, always the solution you can get from a Maxwell's equation. Okay, so if they are telling a parallel plane wave is given in your hand, or a rectangular waveguide is given in your hand, or a circular waveguide is given in your hand, for everything, the step number 1 for solving is your Maxwell's 4 equation. So if you can refresh, you just refresh. The 4 Maxwell's equation are del cross H, del cross E, del dot E, and del dot B. Okay, so do you remember del cross H, we wrote it as J plus dou D by dou T, and that J is equal to sigma E. That sigma was called as conductivity. J was called as current density. D is equal to epsilon into E. There epsilon is a constant. Epsilon is called as your permittivity, and E is called as your electric field intensity, and D is called as electric flux density. Okay, so as of now, I think you know all the 4 Maxwell's equation and what is the meaning of each and every notation in the equation. So that is what we have seen in the previous session. Then we have seen what is a uniform plane wave. So let me tell it as a small crisp point. In uniform plane wave, what we confined is there are 3 directions in a Cartesian coordinate system: X, Y, and Z direction. So if your wave is going to travel along your X direction, in that direction component does not exist. So what is the meaning? You are having 3 direction means you have 6 radiation component. So what do you mean by radiation component? The electric and magnetic components present in the wave. What is propagating inside a medium is what we call it as the radiation component. Okay. So there are 3 direction, 2 components in each direction. So totally there will be 6 components in your hand. So what will be the 6 components? Along the X direction you have EX, HX. Along the Y direction you have EY, HY. Along the Z direction you have EZ and your HZ component. So finding the 6 component will be the aim of each and every derivation. That is what we call it as deriving the radiation field components. So in that, what component exists, what does not exist, based on the property only differs. That only makes a bigger difference in the derivation and the understanding of that particular concept. Okay, so whatever uniform plane wave said, you have 3 direction and you have 6 component, but in the direction in which the wave is propagating, in that direction the component does not exist. So example is, if in Z direction the wave is propagating, EZ and HZ component will be equal to 0, but its effect will be seen in the other 2 directions, that is your X and Y direction. And your E, your H, and the wave propagation, all the 3 of them will be perpendicular to each other based on the thumb's rule. So this is what your uniform plane wave teached you. Okay. Next, what we have seen in the previous session is a general derivation for your parallel plane wave we did. In that we found out 4 components, telling that in Z direction the wave was propagating. So EZ, HZ does not exist. So what we found it in your parallel plane wave general derivation is EX, HX, EY, HY. 4 components exist. Okay. Then we did transverse electric waves. Okay. So what is the meaning of transverse electric wave? So what do you mean by transverse? I think some of you who have already seen that concept once, you will be remembering that. Transverse, and what is the word along with that word transverse is coming? That component does not exist in your wave propagation. So transverse electric means in your Z direction, the electric field Ez alone does not exist, but component H will be existing. Okay, so that is what we have seen in the previous session, and that is what I have mentioned here also. We have seen transverse magnetic waves in the previous session. In that we said along the direction of propagation, the magnetic field does not exist. Hz was 0, but electric field exists. With that we started the derivation. Then we found out what components exist and does not exist. So this is the recap of all the concept what we have seen in the previous session, which will be useful for you in this present session also. So let me go inside the topic. So today's topic is a very simple concept, that is your transverse electric wave of a parallel plane wave. Okay, so now you can easily guess what we are going to do. Transverse electric wave means, what is the meaning? Transverse electric wave is not existing along the direction of propagation. So the word which is along with transverse does not exist. That is, if you see this diagram, along the Z direction, your wave is going to propagate. Along your Y direction, it is an infinitely long plate. So along your Y direction, there is no variation. It is a fixed one, infinitely long. But along your X direction, if you see, it tells you about the spacing between the two parallel running plates. So the spacing is represented as x equal to 0 and x equal to a. So this part, the spacing only act as a boundary condition for solving this particular problem for us. So did you understand now? Transverse electric means electric field along the Z direction does not exist. Ez will be equal to 0, but magnetic field will be existing. That is why we have written as Hz is not equal to 0. So as of now, what is the criteria we have? We have 3 direction, 6 components. According to the what is that heading, Ez is not existing. So remaining 5 components are there. So out of that 5 component, what is existing, what is not existing, and what we have to find out in the course of the derivation, we are going to see next. So now let me go inside the derivation. So according to the concept, what we said, it is your transverse electric wave. So electric component does not exist along the direction of propagation. So the first line, if you see, I have written Ez is equal to 0 based on the heading, based on the definition. Okay. So now what we will do now, that Ez equal to 0, we will go and substitute in the general final answer of your parallel plane wave. So that also I have written in the second and third equation. That is, if you see the equation number 1, that is the final answer of your parallel plane wave. In that, if you substitute Ez equal to 0, your definition of transverse electric wave, what will happen? If you see clearly, that is Ex equal to minus gamma by h square dou Ez by dou x. What is that gamma called as? It is called as your propagation constant. Gamma is called as propagation constant, and it is equal to a combination of your attenuation constant and your phase constant. That is alpha plus j beta. This is what everyone knows. Okay. So now here, if I apply the definition, Ez becomes 0. So right hand side becomes 0. So what will happen? The Ex component is equal to 0. Now you take the equation number 2, that is the Hy component of your general equation parallel plane wave. That derivation, from there only we are taking this one. Okay. So this is a continuation of your parallel plane wave. So here if you see, the Hy component is also directly proportional to the derivative of your Ez. So here again, if you substitute your definition Ez equal to 0, what will happen? The right hand side becomes 0 and your Hy is equal to 0. So now what we have understood, by applying the definition in the parallel plane wave, 2 more components becomes 0. What are the components that has become 0 now? That is equation 3 says Ex is 0, Hy is 0. So out of 6 components, 3 components does not exist for our transverse electric wave of parallel plane wave. What are the 3 components not existing? See the screen, it is saying Ez is equal to 0 based on definition. Ex and Hy is equal to 0 when you apply in your parallel plane general derivation. Understood? Next one is, now what is given in your hand? You have to find the remaining 3 components. Now can you guess what are the remaining 3 components? Ez is not there, you have to find Hz. Ex is not there, you have to find Hx. Hy is not there, you have to find Ey. So the criteria now in your hand is Ehz, then your Hx and your Ey. These are the three component and aim of your derivation transverse electric wave. Okay, so now let us go. So next thing is, after your Maxwell's equation, always your wave equation helps you in finding out your solution. So the wave equation, again, if you go and see back in your parallel plane wave, we have written the wave equation as del square E equal to gamma square E and del square H equal to gamma square H. Okay, so if you know that, it will be very easy for you. Okay, so that del square can be expanded as dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square and dou square by dou z square. Along the three direction, it can be expanded in the left hand side. But here what I have written is, for your parallel plane wave, what we said, wherever dou by dou y comes, you make it equal to 0. Blindly you can make it 0 because it is a constant. Okay, wherever dou by dou z comes, you can differentiate. But wherever dou by dou x comes, you have to keep it as such. Okay, so like that, when you're doing your wave equation, if you see below the equation number 3, the wave equation will be written like that. Okay, so that I am trying to minimize, then I will be getting the equation number 4. So equation number 4 is the minimized version of your wave equation. So now if you see that equation, it looks like a second order differential equation with a varying parameter Ey. Are you able to see that equation number 4? In that equation number 4, if you see, it looks like a second order differential equation with what is the varying parameter there? The only varying parameter is Ey. Okay, Ey, electric component along the y direction. Okay, so there if you see, we can write a solution for a second order differential equation. Your mathematics teaches a lot. Okay, so according to mathematics, there are many solutions, but one solution what is needed for our derivation we have picked up. So it is written as Ey equal to C1 sin Hx plus C2 cos Hx. Okay, so if you see here that C1 and C2 are your arbitrary constant, that H is not hyperbolic. What is that H? H is called as a constant. That H is equal to gamma square plus omega square mu epsilon. We have clearly said it in our parallel plane wave derivation. Okay, so you have to remember H is not hyperbolic, it is a constant. It is a mere constant constituting of your propagation constant and your mu and epsilon value in it. So now what you have to do? So the what is that? Second order differential solution is in hand. But the solution says it has two arbitrary constants C1 and C2. Now, if you are able to solve and write the answer for C1 and C2, you will get one component Ey. That answer Ey, if you go and substitute in the parallel plane equation, that final answer, you will get the remaining component what you need. Okay, so this is the flow of the derivation. So now if you want to find out what is the value of the constant C1 and C2, what we need to do, we need to write the boundary condition. So now you can easily guess what is the boundary condition. What we said, your parallel plane wave is there, side wall is not there, only two planes are running parallel with respect to each other. So what is happening? Along Z, wave is propagating. Along Y, it is a constant, no variation, it is an infinite long. Only variation is happening along your X direction between 0 to A. Okay, and one more concept what you have to remember, according to the skin effect, the entire current is assumed to flow on the surface of the conductor. We never say voltage is flowing. We say the current is flowing on the surface of the conductor. Current is related with your magnetic field. So magnetic field cannot be made as 0 for boundary condition. Only your electric field can be made as 0 for the boundary condition. So now, fortunately, we have our solution in electric field. So it is very easy for us to write the boundary condition. So if you have a parallel plane wave, the bottom plate is at x equal to 0. In that plate, all the electric fields are 0. Ex is 0, your Ey is 0, your Ez is 0. So what is the first boundary condition you can write? Your Ey is 0 at x equal to 0, ground plane. And your Ey is equal to 0 at x equal to A, the top plate. Okay, so the two boundary condition you can easily obtain from your diagram. Okay, so that is what I have written in equation A and B. Ey is equal to 0 at x equal to 0 and Ey equal to 0 at x equal to a. Now these boundary condition one by one, if you substitute in your equation number 5 and you start solving, you will be able to get the arbitrary constants C1 and C2. So now what I did is I substituted the first boundary condition in the equation Ey. Okay, so when you substitute x equal to 0 and Ey equal to 0, what you are able to do? Sin 0 is 0, cos 0 is 1. Okay, so what will happen? You get the equation to be C1 equal to 0 here. Okay, so next what you have is, you have the equation reduced to Ey equal to C1 sin hx. Now I have to apply my second boundary condition. If I apply your second boundary condition, that is x equal to a at Ey equal to 0, I will get the equation as sin ha equal to 0. From that, if I make HA equal to sine inverse of 0, you can see in the left hand side of your derivation. Sine inverse of 0, the standard form of writing is m pi. Normally we used to write in n pi. I am here writing as m pi. Okay, so HA equal to m pi. So H is equal to m pi by a. What is that m called as? M is an integer varying from 1 to 3, not 0. Normally for a parallel plane, the integer varies from 1, 2, 3, etc. Then what is that a called as? That small a is called as the spacing between the parallel plane. Okay, so now we have got the values. What is the value? Your C2 is 0. Then your H is equal to m pi by a. Now these two values, if you go and put it in your mother equation, that is your equation number 5, you will get your Ey to be, see the equation number 7, that is the value you will get. Ey equal to C1 sin m pi by a x into e power minus gamma z. So here I would like to tell you, if I remove that e power minus gamma z, what will happen? We have said in the previous session. If you try to remember, you can easily say, if I remove that e power minus gamma z, that is the magnitude Ey naught. If I add that, I mean, if I join that e power minus gamma z, it will become a full component Ey. That is the meaning. That e power minus yz tells your wave is propagating along your z direction. That is the meaning of that e power minus gamma z. Phase propagation, that part it is being said here. Okay. So now if you see here, I have got what is my Ey. What is my aim? I have to find 3 components existing. One component I have found. So what are the remaining 2 components? I have to take the equation Hx. In that Hx equation, if you see that equation 5a, what is my Hx? Hx is equal to gamma into Ey divided by minus j omega mu. So here there is no derivative. So directly that Ey answer, equation 7, if I substitute, Hx second component also I will get. Okay. So equation 9 says I have my second component obtained. What is my third component I have to find? It is your Hz. So what is the equation number 10 telling? Your Hz is equal to a derivative. Hz is equal to a derivative of your Ey. So what I have to do? The final answer Ey, what I have got, I have to differentiate with respect to x. I have to differentiate with respect to x, and if I get the answer, that is the answer for your Hz. So that is what your equation 11 says. Hz is equal to that magnitude part is there and your cos of m pi by a into x. So finally, did you understand what we have done? We have taken a transverse electric wave. By definition, it says transverse electric means electric component alone is 0 along the direction of propagation of wave. Magnetic field exists. Okay, that Ez I substituted in the parallel plane wave final answer. It said the remaining 2 component also becomes 0. So totally out of 6 components, your 3 components does not exist for your transverse electric wave. The 3 components that does not exist are Ez0, Ex0, Hy0. So what was given in your hand? Find the remaining 3 components. So the remaining 3 components were Ey, your Hx and your Hz. So that is what we did. So we found out the solution. We found out the arbitrary constant, substituted in the proper equation, and we got the needed 3 components, that is your Ey, Hx and your Hz. Okay. So here if you see, normally the TE or TM wave, whatever it be, the way we used to write is TE suffix m into n, small m, small n. Okay. What is the meaning of m? M meaning is the variation along your x direction. N meaning is variation along your y direction. So now you can ask me, if you see in that point, the right hand side, the second point, it is written as TEM0. Why I have written like that? Because for your parallel plane wave, along the y direction, there is no variation. So always your n is 0. But along your what is the m component I said? It is telling about the variation along your x direction. X we are having variation because the spacing 0 to a. So m component exists and m varies from 1, 2, 3, etc. So for various values of m, you can get different types of configurations for your T itself. That's what we call it as what? It is called as modal propagation. That is what we call it as modes. Okay, so there are many combinations like T10, T20, T30. So many combinations will be happening according to the variation in M. So out of all the combination, TE10 is called as the dominant mode. Why it is called as dominant mode? The mode which has the highest wavelength and lowest cutoff frequency. Because you know why I'm telling as the highest wavelength? Because as the frequency goes on increasing at your ultra high frequency, wavelength is very less, shorter. So the one which has the lowest wavelength is the best one, having the better frequency. So here TE10, by experimentally it was found that it gives you the highest wavelength. So the TE10 is called as the dominant mode. TM10 is called as the dominant mode. Normally in your 2 marks and all, they will tell, give the dominant mode of your transverse electric and the magnetic wave. So you can say TE10 and TE10 is called as the dominant mode. Did you understand the transverse electric wave properly? So now we will go into the next topic, that is the characteristics of TE and TM wave. So now what we have learned already, what is a general parallel plane wave, we know. Then we know what is a TM wave. We know what is a TE wave. So we know everything. So now when we know about characteristics of a TE and TM wave, what we need to do, we have to guess what is actually happening, what is its characteristic. If you take a student, what you will say, that student is good, he is perfectly doing his works, he is coming to the lab properly, he is listening properly, he is listening properly to this video. Everything based on that we used to sell the characteristics to some extent. Same way, whether my TE and TM wave, what I have designed is good or not for the practical use. So it has certain characteristics which says that particular TE or TM wave is good or not. Okay, so that characteristics is what we are going to see now. Okay, so what are the various characteristics? Right. So the characteristics are, the first very important characteristics normally you will write is, along the x direction there is some variation, along the y direction there is no variation, along your z direction the wave is propagating. This is the very important first three characteristics you will write for your TE and TM wave. The next characteristics is propagation constant. So propagation constant only tells you how the wave is propagating. Whether the wave is propagating or not is understood only from your propagation constant. What is the standard formula for propagation constant? I know everyone knows. What is gamma equal to? It is alpha plus j beta. What is alpha called as? Alpha is called as attenuation constant. What is beta called as? Beta is called as phase constant. So combination of your attenuation and the phase constant is together is what we call it as your propagation constant. The propagation constant in a waveguide is given by a standard formula, what I have written in the first point. H square equal to gamma square plus omega square mu epsilon. From that, next line I have brought what is gamma equal to, so that I can understand the characteristics. So gamma is equal to, what is gamma square? It is h square minus omega square mu epsilon. Gamma equal to, when you take square root on both the sides, you will get h square minus omega square mu epsilon. So let me ask you a question. What was the value of h in your TE and TM? Just now we derived our TE. In our TE derivation as well as our TM derivation, the h value we got is m pi by a. That m pi by a I will substitute in the formula what I am having. So when I substitute, you get the gamma to be root of m pi by the a the whole square minus omega square mu epsilon. So this is the base. So now from this equation, three cases arises. What are the three cases? When a frequency is lesser than cutoff frequency, what happens? When a frequency is equal to cutoff frequency, what happens? When a frequency is greater than cutoff frequency, what happens? So before going to that, one should know what is that FC. FC can be either called as a critical frequency or called as cutoff frequency. What do you mean by critical frequency? It is just as simple as if you want to make the wave propagate inside a communication line or any waveguide, your wave should meet a certain threshold level. If the threshold level is met, then your wave can easily propagate inside. So here the threshold limit is your FC, your critical frequency. If your waves operating frequency is greater than the critical frequency, then your wave can propagate smoothly inside your waveguide. But if your wave's operating frequency is less than the critical frequency, what will happen? Your wave has not met the criteria, it cannot propagate inside. So only attenuation will happen, propagation cannot happen. That is what we have clearly mentioned in the three cases. Let me talk about the case number one. Case number one says your operating frequency F is less than your critical frequency Fc. What will happen when it is less than critical frequency? What I said, you will not have any propagation. If no propagation is happening, what will happen? Your beta, what it talks about propagation, becomes 0. Okay. Now, when it is less than Fc, what will happen? Only attenuation will happen. Wave is not going to propagate. Okay. So, your gamma will be equal to your alpha component. So, according to the case number one, when F is less than Fc, your gamma is alpha, your beta is equal to 0. When you substitute that in your the first equation, that is gamma equal to m pi by a the whole square minus omega square mu epsilon, the gamma can be now replaced with alpha at F less than Fc. So alpha at F less than Fc, the formula you have. Okay. Next is your F is greater than Fc. When your F is greater than Fc, what will happen? Everyone is telling, I guess, when F is greater than Fc, it has met the criteria of threshold. Now your wave is freely moving inside your waveguide. So only propagation is happening, attenuation is not at all happening. When attenuation is not at all happening, alpha becomes 0. When propagation alone is happening, your gamma equal to alpha plus j beta. Alpha is 0 means gamma is equal to j beta. So your new equation at F greater than Fc, you will get the value of propagation constant. When F is less than Fc, you will get the value of attenuation constant. Now what will happen when F is equal to Fc? When F is equal to Fc, neither attenuation nor propagation will happen. Here the wave will start to what? It will cease. It is now ready to do the propagation in that level. It is just like a orange light in your traffic light. It is getting ready to propagate. When the threshold is increased, your wave starts to propagate. So that is what I have mentioned here. When F is equal to Fc, the wave starts to cease its propagation. So your gamma is become equal to 0. So neither attenuation nor propagation is going to occur. At this point is what you will get the critical frequency value. So if you see the down after substituting, you will get the value Fc equal to mc by a. MC by A is the threshold value. If this threshold value is properly attained, above value is properly attained, propagation smoothly happens inside a waveguide. Okay. So if you see that final expression for Fc, what is the meaning of M? M is an integer varying from 1 to 3 according to the configuration. Okay. What is C? C is the velocity of your free space of your light, 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. What is that A? A is called as the spacing between your parallel plate. Okay. Let me come to the next slide. Yes. Now, if you see, the second characteristics is your cutoff wavelength. What is cutoff wavelength? Lambda c. So this cutoff wavelength is related to your or critical wavelength is related to your critical frequency. Just now we said no, when your f operating frequency is equal to critical frequency, you will get the value of fc. At that particular frequency, what is the wavelength you are getting? That is what is called as your critical wavelength. So lambda c is called as critical wavelength. This is equal to velocity in that medium divided by your cutoff frequency for that particular medium. So you know fc, so easily you can find lambda c, because lambda is equal to c by f. So lambda c will be equal to c by fc. So c divided by fc formula, if you substitute, you're getting the answer to be 2a divided by m, where a is called as your spacing and m is called as an integer. So for example, they will ask you a particular medium is having integer value of m to be equal to a, and that parallel plane waveguide is having a spacing of 3.4 meters apart. Find the critical frequency. So what you will do, lambda c equal to 2a by m, a value you will substitute, m value you will substitute, and you will find what is your lambda c. Okay, so next one is we are trying to find, we have already got what is our alpha value and beta value. That value as such you can keep, or you can also convert it into in terms of your critical frequency, or you can also convert it in terms of your omega c. That is what we have done here. That alpha formula, if you see, mere substitution and the combination of the common terms, you will get the value of your alpha in terms of omega and omega c. What is omega? Omega is the value of operating frequency. What is omega c? It is the angular frequency obtained from your critical frequency. That is the only difference. So next one, third characteristic, if you see, it is called as your phase velocity. What is phase velocity? Or velocity of propagation, you can say, the either way. So the velocity with which the wave is propagating inside a parallel running wave or a medium is what we call it as your phase velocity or velocity of propagation. So it is given by the formula product of operating frequency and your operating wavelength, f and lambda. So we know what is f value and what is lambda value. And there is one more formula for Vp, that is omega by beta. So all these are standard formulas what we have been already seeing in our all the topics. So omega by beta, that beta value from the previous equation, if you substitute, you will get the value of Vp. Okay, so next one is your guided wavelength. What do you mean by guided wavelength? So guided wavelength is nothing but the wavelength with which the wave is traveling inside a guided medium. So what is lambda c? The wavelength with which the wave is propagating. The wave is propagating. In the medium where it is propagating, that wavelength is what we call it as your lambda g. So there is a big difference between your lambda g, lambda c and lambda. You are able to understand what is lambda? Lambda occurs according to your operating frequency. It is related with your f. Lambda c occurs at your critical frequency. Your lambda g is mainly due to the guide medium, the walls of your parallel plane wave. So here the relationship between your guided wavelength is 2 pi by beta. So beta value, when you substitute, you will be able to get the value of lambda g. Lambda g is given as lambda divided by root of 1 minus lambda by lambda c the whole square. So the very good relationship between all the three components of wavelength is given as 1 by lambda g square equal to 1 by lambda square minus lambda c square. This is obtained by reducing. In 3-4 steps you will get this answer. Just by reducing, simplifying this relationship, we will get this. Gives you a good relationship between all the three components. So next one is your group velocity. So what is group velocity? It is the velocity with which the energy what the wave is carrying will be propagate along the axis of the waveguide. So normally if you see, this Vg will be lesser than your Vp. Okay, so normally your Vg will be lesser than your Vc, V value, that is velocity of light value also, it will be lesser, and Vp, velocity of propagation also, this guide value will be lesser. Okay, and here again if you see that Vp is equal to omega by beta. So group velocity is variation of energy along the course of the entire length of the waveguide. So we have to do d beta by d omega. When you do, you will get the final answer what we have written there. Vg is equal to c into root of 1 minus fc by fd whole square. So in free space, Vg is equal to c square. So now, so that part is over. Now we are jumping into the next topic of parallel plane wave, transverse electromagnetic wave. So now everyone can tell me what is transverse electromagnetic wave. What is transverse electric wave? Transverse electric means Ez alone 0. Transverse magnetic means Hz alone equal to 0. Transverse electromagnetic wave means what happens? Your Ez and your Hz should be equal to 0. Then only that configuration will be existing. So here if you see, it is very easy to do this derivation. What we are going to do is, we will take a TE wave. In your TE wave, if you have that answer in your hand, you can see, in your TE wave, if you are able to substitute m equal to 0, that integer equal to 0, what will happen you can see. So you just recollect, in your TE wave, all the final answers were written in terms of sign of m pi by a. So everywhere when you substitute m equal to 0, all the components of your TE wave blindly become 0. So your wave does not exist, characteristic does not exist. So your TE wave will not help you in finding your TEM wave. So now what you're going to do, we are going to take the help of our TM mode, what we have just now derived. Okay. In the TM mode, if I substitute m equal to 0, what will happen? So that is what you are able to see in the screen. When you put m equal to 0 in hy component of your, what is that, TE wave, cos 0 is 1. That component exists. Ex, if you take cos 0 is again 1. Ex also exists. Your Ez, what will happen? Here it is sin m pi. So sin 0 becomes 0. So Ez equal to 0. So what you understood is, already for your TE wave, your TM wave, your Hz is 0. Now when you substitute the values of m equal to 0 in the answer of your TM wave, what happens? Ez is also becoming 0 in the last line, see? And your Hy and Ex is becoming a value. So the criteria is met. So what we say is, your transverse electromagnetic wave is a special case of TM wave, provided one important condition is satisfied. That important condition is m equal to 0. If that m equal to 0 is not satisfied in your TM wave, it is not called as TEM wave. Okay. So what is the keyword for TEM wave? A wave is called as electromagnetic wave is called as a transverse electromagnetic wave only when your condition m equal to 0 is satisfied in your TM configuration. So we can also say it is a special case of your transverse magnetic wave. Okay. So if they're asking the derivation, what you will do is, entire transverse magnetic wave you will derive. In the final part, what you will do, the special condition is m equal to 0. When you substitute m equal to 0, Ez also becomes 0. That is what is called as your transverse electromagnetic wave. So what is the characteristics of transverse electromagnetic wave? The same as your transverse electric wave. Wherever m is equal, m parameter is there in the characteristics of TE and TM, if you put m equal to 0, the special condition of TEM, the characteristics of your TEM also you will get. So here if you see, I have taken the characteristics of TE wave or TM wave. In that I substituted m equal to 0, the special condition of TEM. So what is the answer I am getting? J omega of root of mu epsilon. This is the propagation constant of TEM wave. And beta value, if you see, it is omega into root of mu epsilon. That is the value of your phase constant of your TEM wave. By substituting the value m equal to, m equal to 0. Next, the same way, in all the characteristics of your TE and TM, you just go on substituting m equal to 0. You will directly get the value for your TEM wave characteristics. Okay. So now wave impedance. What is called as wave impedance? So you know what is impedance. If I ask you what is impedance, you will tell me, ma'am, that is the ratio of the voltage to current at any point on a transmission line or a medium. So that is when in terms of communication in electronic circuits, we used to say impedance is equal to V by I. But when you're talking in terms of the waveguide, what is your wave impedance? We call it as wave impedance. V by I. What is the V? V is the effect of your electric field. What is that I in the denominator? I is the effect of your magnetic field. The magnetic field surrounding the medium is represented as your I. So in terms of your waveguide, we will call it as E by H, V by I. V is E, I is H. So wave impedance is equal to E by H. Okay. So now that is the definition of your wave impedance. For any waveguide, the ratio of the electric field to the magnetic field in that particular parallel plane wave or whatever it be in particular direction is what we call it as your wave impedance. So normally the wave impedance has to be written in a particular format or the order. So if you see the numerator you are writing for the x direction means the denominator parameter you have to write for the y direction. Numerator you are writing for y direction, denominator you have to write for the z direction, for the yz plane, or you can write for your zx plane. Okay, if you are writing for zx plane, this formula can be written as Ez divided by hx. Okay, so this is how we will be writing by substituting all the values of ex or hy or hz, whatever you have in your hand, you will get the wave impedance of your TEM. So here I have written the wave impedance of the TEM. You are getting as omega into root mu epsilon by omega epsilon. Omega gets cancelled and you get the value of impedance to be root of mu by epsilon. I think you will remember in the first session we said a relationship between electric field, magnetic field and intrinsic impedance. What was the relationship? It was eta equal to E by H is equal to eta equal to E by H is equal to what? Root of mu by epsilon equal to 377 ohms equal to 120 pi. Do you remember that? That is the same relation here. That is how you got your relationship. So here if you substitute mu naught value and epsilon naught value, you will get 120 pi because mu naught value is 4 pi into 10 power minus 7 and epsilon value is 8.854 into 10 power minus 12. Okay, so this is all about your parallel plane wave. Have you understood? We have seen what is parallel plane wave, what is TE, what is TM, what is the characteristics of TE and TM. Then we have seen what is TEM and what is the characteristics of a TEM. So these characteristics of met means that can be used for your any application. Next is the last topic of your unit 5, rectangular waveguide. So already we have seen in the previous session what is a rectangular waveguide. So rectangular waveguide means a hollow metallic tube of uniform cross section or a rectangular cross section from top to bottom is what we call it as your rectangular waveguide. Inside the medium the wave is going to propagate. So now if I ask you what is the difference between the constructional difference between a parallel plane waveguide and a rectangular waveguide, I think you will be telling what is the difference. In a parallel plane waveguide, two plates are running parallel to each other, side wall is not there, y direction is constant, dou by dou y is 0. But in rectangular waveguide, side wall is there. It is a four-walled waveguide. Okay. So now what is here? Along the z direction wave is propagating. Along the x direction variation 0 to a. Along your y direction 0 to b. Length, width and your entire propagation space. Okay. So now why I am stressing and telling along x 0 to a, along y 0 to b. Why I am telling is you will be using this to write your boundary condition when you are going to solve the configuration. In your parallel plane wave, y direction there was no wall, there was no variation. So we had only two boundary condition, x equal to 0, x equal to a. But in your rectangular waveguide, we have four boundary condition existing. You see the diagram? X equal to 0, x equal to a. Y equal to 0, y equal to b. Understood? So four boundary conditions you will be having. So let me jump into the topic, transverse electric waves in rectangular waveguide. So the same way of deriving. The first step is you will use your Maxwell's equation and you will get a wave equation. That wave equation is what I have written as equation number 1. Del cross E equal to what is that, gamma square E, or del square H equal to gamma square H. That del square H is what we have expanded here. If you see the wave equation here, if you have understood neatly, if you see the slides neatly, you can easily understand. In our T wave of parallel plane wave, that dou square Hz by dou y was not there. Why? Because dou by dou y was 0 in parallel plane wave. But in rectangular waveguide, it is there. Why? Because along your y direction, 0 to b variation is there. Understood? Okay. So in your wave equation, that is the first difference. Your dou by dou y will be there, dou by dou x will be there. So now in that wave equation, you start solving, you will be able to get what are the various components existing for your rectangular waveguide. So here if you see, the two varying directions are here, x and y direction. So your solution, if you see, just go on along, come along with me with one line. So in the solution, I have written x, y, z direction is reduced to x, y. That is what equation 1 says. Dou by dou z I differentiated, so that is not existing here. Two derivatives are there in equation number 1. Dou by dou x is there, dou by dou y is there. So three direction, we have reduced it to two direction, x and y. So that magnitude hz of xy is a derivative dependent on x and y direction. That is why I have written as hz naught of xy equal to capital X, y, capital X and capital Y. Capital X means it is a function of x direction. Capital Y means it is a function of your y direction. So now what I have to do, when two derivatives are in a single equation, I cannot write a solution. I have to separate the equation into two separate derivatives. Okay, one equation for x direction, one equation for y direction, then only I can proceed. Correct? For that, I am going to do some modification. What I have done is, see the next right hand side equation. I have substituted that xy in my equation number 1. With respect to x, y is constant, so y is coming out in the first part component. With respect to y, x is a constant, that is why in the second component x is coming outside, and third component xy is having. I want to reduce it, so I am dividing by xy in the complete equation. Equation number 2 you will get. Again, if you see the equation number 2, the two derivatives x and y is coming together. We cannot write a solution. So I am going to break it into two halves using some mediator constant. Next slide, we will see that. This is the mediator. I have taken the left hand side part as a square. The right hand side part will be changing now. Okay. So the left hand side 1 by x into dou square x by dou x square plus h square. I have made it to a new constant a square. Then what happens to the equation? It becomes the second one, that is 1 by x plus b square equal to 0. So b square is equal to h square minus a square. So two new constant I am bringing inside to split a single equation into two derivative. Okay. So now I have got, if you see the let part, I have two equations now. That is 1 by x plus b square equal to 0, one separate derivative. 1 by y into 1 by y equal to a square, right hand side, separate derivative. So a single equation containing two varying directions, I have separated into two separate equations so that I can write a solution. Now that is the main idea. Now the solution is, the two equations look like a second order differential equation with a varying parameter x separately with a constant b and y separately with a constant a. Okay. So the two solutions I have written here. X is c1 into cos ax plus c2 sin ax, and y is equal to c3 cos by plus c4 sin by. So when you start writing, you will understand why we have written here. Okay. So this x and y, I have to go and substitute in the magnitude part. We said no, magnitude hz naught is equal to xy. In that x solution and the y solution you have to substitute. Now when you substitute and expand the equation, you will get what we have written in the slide right hand side. Okay. So now what is the thing? You have four constants now. What are the four constants? C1, C2, C3, C4. So what is the aim for you now as of now? You have to find the value for four constants, substitute in this equation, and you have to reduce it. So what is that? If you want to find four constants, you have to write a boundary condition. What is the boundary condition? Just now we said you have four boundary condition. Along the x direction, x equal to 0, x equal to a. Along the y direction, y equal to 0, y equal to b. Okay, these are the four boundary conditions you have to remember because it has a side walls. Okay, so now I will substitute the first boundary condition, y equal to 0 and y equal to b for z equal to 0. I am substituting the first boundary condition in the equation ey equal to, and I'm just going on minimizing it. I'm getting the value of C2 equal to 0 And the next slide, I'm getting the value of capital A to be equal to m pi by A. Okay, just I'm rushing it up because this entire part you know for yourself. That is applying the boundary condition, minimizing it, which component is equal to 0, you can easily do. So when I apply the first boundary condition, what are the first two boundary condition I'm applying here? Y equal to 0 at Ez equal to 0, y equal to B at Ez equal to 0. Why I made Ez equal to 0? Because on the surface of the conductor, only electric field can be 0. Magnetic field cannot be 0 because magnetic field exists on the surface of the conductor. Understood? So by applying the first two boundary condition, I got C2 0 and A equal to one constant value m pi by A. Now I am going to apply the remaining two boundary condition. What is the remaining two boundary condition? X equal to 0 and X equal to A for Ex equal to 0. When I apply the remaining two boundary condition, I have got the C4 equal to 0 and the constant B equal to n pi by y. You can see in the right hand side. Okay. So now totally I have applied all the four boundary condition. The four answers what I have got is, you can see in the right hand side I have written C2 was 0, C4 became 0, capital A gave me m pi by A, m is nothing but it is a constant. Okay, m is called as what? It is an integer varying from 1, 2, 3, etc. What is that n? N is also a constant varying from 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, so A and B is represented in terms of m and n. What is that meaning of m? M is the variation of integer along the x direction. N is the variation of integer in 1, 2, 3 along your y direction. Understood? Because x and y direction exists for your rectangular waveguide. So that is what we have got. After you have got all the four values, you will go back to your mother equation here, Hz, and you will substitute the values of C20, C40, A value, B value. That is how you got the answer Hz equal to this value. This Hz equal to value, if you go and substitute in your Ex and in your Ey, you will get the remaining three values. Okay. So what was the aim of this derivation? To find the radiation field components. So what are called as radiation field components? The electric and magnetic fields are only called as your radiation components. Okay. So that was your aim. So for all the derivation, you will solve the Maxwell's equation. You will get the wave equation. You will bring these, what is that, second order differential equation from the wave equation. You will try to apply the boundary condition, find the arbitrary constants, substitute it, and you will get what are the existing components of your TE or whatever it be TM or whatever it be TEM wave. Understood? So this is what about your rectangular waveguide. So again, as a nutshell, this entire session we have talked about your parallel plane wave TE. Then we have seen TEM wave, characteristics of TE, TM and TEM. Then we have seen for rectangular waveguide, what is your TE of your rectangular waveguide. So how you understood this entire session. So it is now you have to write and see the derivation so that you will understand better and you can cope up with the entire derivation. Thank you. God bless.